Hey, Expedite, you now rock.
I don't know. Okay, here I am, guys. I'm here. I'm live. Camera's not working once again. I don't know what the problem is. I've been trying to get this thing to work. I had it working like 2 days ago, and now all of a sudden it's no longer working. I don't know what's happening. I feel like I'm just gonna have to like delete Chrome and reinstall it because there must be some type of plugin that's not getting my camera to work. And I really do apologize for being almost 30 minutes late. Like I'm completely embarrassed because I have a lot that I wanted to show via website and talk about, but I'm gonna try to get to it, get through it, and if people show up, I know some people may have abandoned the stream today, but if people show up, I'll go ahead and do a Q&A right after the show. So again, I do apologize about starting so late, and let's get on with today's show. So first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with your boy again tonight. We're going to go ahead and restart the intro because I'm recording now for the MP3 crowd. And we will get started with today's topics. And I have a lot to chat about, man. Got a few doozies up there that have caught me by surprise, but we're gonna jump right into it. So here we go. Hey, Expedite, you're now rocking with your boy KORX Kal-El, the last son of Planet Xbox, and you're listening to Super Podshots. So big news, man. Lots of news happening. A lot of people buzzing. We've reported a lot of things today, and it's been hot all over TICGN. Thousands of views, lots of tweets, and we've been everywhere. So I have a lot to chat about. I know a lot of people are like, Hawken, what are you talking about, Hawken? But I got even crazier news than that. So first and foremost, I want to start with this rumor about LionHead and how Microsoft could have saved Fable. And this is a rumor, of course. I just want guys to understand this is a rumor. Hot, all over TICGN, thousands of views. This is a rumor. This is not something that I think you should take to heart. Definitely take with a grain of salt. But let's talk about today's rumor with LionHead. Now, the rumor with LionHead is that the Fable, for some reason, I don't know why people think Fable is dead. Like they think Microsoft have killed Fable and Fable will never ever return and that it is completely over, which is the furthest thing from the truth. But let's just indulge for a second what's happening and what the rumor is. So news came out recently that Microsoft could have saved Fable Legends as well as LionHead if they were to sell LionHead in Fable, and that they had bidders who wanted to purchase Fable for hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, the thing to it, though, is that when you really look at what is being said here is that a third-party company would have came out and picked up Fable. And that game would eventually been on PlayStation, PC, Xbox, maybe Nintendo Wii U or the Nintendo NX. And it would have no longer been an exclusive IP. It would have been a franchise that Microsoft sold. Similar in a way, Sony had sold Sony Computer Entertainment, and now you have games like DC Universe on there. H1Z1's supposed to be going on there. EverQuest Online is supposed to be coming to Xbox, so there's a few franchises coming to Xbox because of the sale of Sony Computer Entertainment. But the Xbox version, the Xbox exclusive Fable was not going to be sold by Microsoft. They were not letting their franchise go, and I find it idiotic that people really think that that was the best option for Microsoft to save LionHead. You know, and I get it. Lionhead at one point was a great studio. They were a great studio, but I think people tend to forget what they've produced the last couple of years. Okay, I'm not knocking Lionhead Studios. I think that, and here's what's crazy. The only thing I've ever played from Lionhead Studios is Fable games. I don't know if that's a detriment to Microsoft. I don't know if that's a detriment to Fable. I mean, to Lionhead. They've worked. I've seen all types of type ups and write ups and all types of things of cancelized games from Lionhead Studio and things like that. They had like some type of survival emergency game at one point. There were other RPGs they were working on, and in every instance, none of those games ever came out. Each one of those games, for some apparent reason, was canceled. Now that can go back to Microsoft and their old approach of, you know, if it don't broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? It's bread and butter. You got Fable as a franchise that did really well with the first one, exploded with the second one, fell off with the third one, collapsed with the Kinect version, and finally died off with Fable Legends. It is a terrible rise and downfall of Fable Legends. Peter Molyneux obviously had a hand in the first couple of Fables, as well as the game, I think it's called White and Black, which is more of like those top-down godlike games and everything like that. And that's great for them. That's great for the Lionhead Studio. Unfortunately, their track record has not been good the past, what, 3, 4, 5 years. It just hasn't been. You look at the past games of Fable, it hasn't picked up like it was supposed to. I can understand if, you know, Microsoft forced the Fable guys to make a Kinect game. I blame that on Don Matrick. There's a lot of things I blame on Don Matrick when it comes to the ending years of the 360 era. Absolutely. But I also praise Don Matrick for what he's done this generation. And it's crazy because it's like people tend to forget that Don Matrick invested $1 billion into games for the Xbox One. $1 billion. I think people forget that. I think a lot of people give Phil Spencer a lot of credit, and absolutely he deserves it for saving the Xbox One and turning it around. He had no choice. It was a no choice situation when it came to turning the Xbox franchise around. But at the end of the day, you know, Don Matrick was the one, he was in charge, who went ahead and invested $1 billion into Microsoft to get all the games that we've played over the last 3 years. God honest truth, Scalebound, Recore, Sunset Overdrive, the Halo, Forzas, what else? You had Dead Rising, you had Rise, a lot of exclusives. Don't forget some of those smaller indie games. You know, you had Kalimba, you had Matt's Cursed Brotherhood, you had the I was about to say the Dragon game. I forget what it's called. Crimson Dragon. You had Crimson Dragon. You had that golf game early on when the game first launched, the system first launched. A lot of games came out under that $1 billion that they invested into games. I think now this is Phil Spencer's year. And I think this Xbox that's coming out is Phil Spencer's Xbox. That's how I feel. That's how I see it. And that's why I'm excited. I think because Phil gets us gamers. Don didn't get us as gamers. Don was a businessman. He didn't get us as gamers. Phil gets us as gamers, but Phil also has to run a business. So I get the whole Windows 10 integration thing, and you know that's the ecosystem that he has to run in order to keep the Xbox franchise alive. And by all means, do it as long as he continues to bring exclusives and continues to build new IPs and franchises for the Xbox brand. I think a lot of gamers are happy with that. Now, here's what's crazy. So Fable no longer Fable Legends is no longer coming out. Lionhead is dead, and the only solution was Microsoft to sell this IP, and nobody would buy the studio without the IP. That's the thing, and it says so much. The plan actually was to sell Lionhead with the Fable franchise, and if you didn't sell the studio with the franchise, Nobody wanted it. That just goes to tell you what was important, and it goes to tell you the quality that other people felt about LionHead. And I really hate to say this. As much as I like LionHead, as much as I love them and wish them much success and wanted much success for them, it goes to show you that third parties didn't even have enough faith in the studio as a development studio to purchase the personnel in the studio itself without the Fable franchise and rely on them to create a new IP. They wanted the Fable franchise. And Microsoft did the smartest thing you could possibly do. Why would I sell an IP that's already established, that fans still want, and then you can easily turn around and just give it to another one of your studios or build a small studio to get back into the Fable franchise? You can hand it off to Rare, you can hand it off to another company, a third-party company, and have them begin a new Fable legacy. Why would you do that? Could you imagine the amount of backdraft Phil would get if PlayStation had the Fable franchise? The Xbox, you thought the Xbox fans were upset because of games going to Windows 10? Imagine if Fable was on PlayStation 4. Oh my God. People would lose their minds. They would go bonkers. They would lose it. No way you put the Fable franchise, no way you sell the Fable franchise to save LionHead Studios. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You just don't. As a business, you just don't. That is not the smart decision. It's the same thing Crytek did. Crytek said they know they have an IP in Rise. They had a good start. It didn't do the best. It didn't sell that well, but Rise developed a good following over time. It really did. You know what's crazy? Rise hasn't even hit Games for Gold yet, and people still clamor for Rise for Games for Gold, but it hasn't hit it yet. And Crytek didn't sell the franchise. Microsoft, I know Microsoft was interested in buying a franchise when Crytek was going through their issues and maybe almost going out of business, you know? But had it not been for help and finally getting some financial backing from some partners and things like that, they were able to sustain themselves. Now they're able to go ahead and pump out, you know, another Rise or other games. Like they've been working on this VR game, The Climb. They were able to pump that game out. I don't know how successful that game will be, but they're able to pump that game out. So it just goes to show you that as a business, your IPs are everything. That's your moneymaker. And if Microsoft turns around and sells Fable, and Fable is no longer an exclusive franchise, it would be an embarrassment to Microsoft. Now, imagine this. Not only do Microsoft sell the IP, they sell the IP to somebody, and somebody produces a better game than Microsoft. It would be even a more fiasco, even a bigger and more embarrassing thing that you could never explain. They could never live that down. Never live it down. They could never live it down. And it's sad to say, but it's the truth. So it's unfortunate that, you know, LionHead went under. Microsoft made the business decision to keep their IP, and you know, I'm sure at some point we'll see the revival of either Fable Legends or Fable 4. We will see that game. You know, the Fable franchise is too important to Microsoft to just let it stay dormant. Okay, this is not Phantom Dust we're talking about. Phantom Dust is a franchise that came out 2 generations ago for the Xbox brand. You know, a franchise that, you know, didn't even, my understanding, didn't even come over to the States, was like an import title. So, I mean, it just says a lot, man. It says a lot. And people have to understand that this was a very important decision. Microsoft made it. And this is all true. If this is true, again, this is a rumor. I don't know if it's a fact. There could have been other factors into the reasons why, you know, Microsoft allowed LionHead to go under. I don't know where all of the people are. Maybe some of the top people are still with the company. Maybe some of the top people have moved to another thing. And the reason why people believe this is true, and I'm going to read the comment. Basically, under Britain law, supposedly, you know, they give companies who are about to go under the opportunity to be sold to keep that company open and keep people in jobs. That is a requirement of the law, my understanding, in the UK. It says UK law states that a company must explore multiple options before officially closing down, and it seems like LionHead had many options. The reports say that there was potential buyers from some of the biggest names in the industry with offers that ranged in the hundreds of millions. That seemed like a pretty good deal, but Microsoft refused to budge. Why? Because all the buyers wanted the Fable IP alongside the studio, and Microsoft wasn't allowing that to happen. Thus, all of the buyers turned down the deals, and LionHead became lost to all of us. And that's pretty much what happened. And again, like I said, it's an unfortunate situation. It really is for LionHead. But you know what? You won't see 343 get shut down anytime soon. You just won't. You won't see Forza, the Turn 10 studio, get shut down anytime soon. It's not going to happen. Those people, they pump out franchises. Those franchises move units. They are franchises that they are 100% reliable. They're more than certainly money makers, and those are just, you know, die-hard and true franchises. I think Fable fell to the second-tier franchises. They fell to those franchises like Crackdown, and you know, it fell along the lines of like Crackdown and some of the you know, Connect games. You know, I hate to say it that way, but really, that's really what it was. It fell down to the second tier. It was like a franchise that they had to put out, but not a franchise that they felt was going to be a big money maker. And it's disappointing. So I really hope that they turn around and they produce a new Fable. They reboot it, and everything turns out the way we fans wanted to turn out. I think that would be really important for them, and I would be super excited if that was to happen. You guys, give me half a second. So continuing on, Capcom has come out recently and spoke about 2 new games that they'll be dropping in 2017. Now, according to reports, you know, Capcom is said to have like this plan for their 2 unannounced games. And one of them doesn't say anything about being exclusives, but my understanding is this. This is the plan. The first plan is that they have a Monster Hunter title, as usual, dropping, and they plan for it to sell somewhere in the $2 million range. The second major title, which has no name, we don't know what it is unannounced, will be dropping in 2017, and their analytics are telling them that they want this game to sell in the 4 million unit range. That's a big number. Okay, if you look at today's generation, if you look at today's IPs, you don't really get, you know, IP selling, you know, in the $4 million range nowadays. I mean, you do, obviously, if it's a third party, you know, if it's a multi-plat game. But I'm wondering if this is what's the game coming out for PlayStation? The Dragon game. Oh my God, I forgot what it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a Dragon game coming out for PS4, which they have put that game on hiatus for the longest time. I have no idea what that franchise is, none whatsoever. They put that game on hold for the longest time. I don't know if it's even going to pan out the way it looked when we first saw it. And I hate to see these type of franchises, because you know what I hate about the launch of consoles is that they show you all the potential in games that you think are going to come, and then these games don't come, or they take 4, 5, 6 years for it to come. Like, I don't understand what is taking so long with this franchise, and why is it taking so long for it to come. So it's kind of disappointing to, you know, see them trying to work on some game that's supposed to sell in the $4 million range. I would expect that game to be third party, but if you look at sales, console sales of the PS4, then you would then say it's a possibility it may be the Dragon game. What is it called? I don't remember what it's called. Dragon something. So it's just crazy. In my basement, Dad. So it's been a crazy situation for that game. Then they go on and they talk about the $2 million range title. I think that's going to be Dead Rising again. I think that's the next Dead Rising game coming to Xbox. Hopefully, it's not multi-platform. We can continue the story and everything like that. I just think that the franchise has been on an uphill tick. I really hope that the franchise is successful. I think that Dead Rising really is going to be a franchise that people remember. The first game was very, very fun. It wasn't highly rated, anything like that. But I think that if they continue the franchise, continue the story, if you haven't played Dead Rising 3, you need to play it. It was really, really good. I had a lot of fun playing that game. I've never played a Dead Rising game until that game. It was like co-op. I think it was like 4-player co-op actually. But I played the game co-op. And I was very excited, man. I was very excited for the game. So, I just think that $2 million title will be another Dead Rising, which is probably smart because people go out and buy that game. That game sold about 1 million or 2 million on the Xbox over time. I think it'll do the same. There's a lot of fans who love zombies on the Xbox. Just look at Call of Duty and the way people play zombie games. You look at State of Decay and you look at Class 4 that they're supposed to be coming out with, which I would be surprised if they show Class 4 at E3 2016. That might be something to look out for. Most definitely. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I think Dead Rising 4 is a possibility. The dungeon game from Capcom, and then of course Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is an exclusive to Nintendo. That's 3 exclusive franchises I can see them dropping next year, which makes total sense. The problem with Capcom is that Capcom does not produce new IPs. They just don't. I don't know what's the last new IP they produced. They're producing a new IP for Sony, but I don't know what other franchises that they've produced that have been completely new franchises in a very long time. Their franchises are kind of played out. Mega Man, they've been going back to 8-bit Mega Man. They haven't thought about Mega Man Legends, rebooting the franchise, rebuilding him as a character. Lost Planet was garbage to me on the 360. That's something that they could have rebooted and refreshed. They haven't done that. There's a ton of games Capcom has. I just don't know who's running that studio and if they're just so broke, they're just relying on remasters and sequels. Deep Down, thank you, appreciate that. Yes, Deep Down, that is the game. I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah, man, I just think they're relying on sequels and they're relying on remasters. That might be the biggest company that relies on sequels and remasters, and it's absolutely disappointing that that they are relying on. It's like I said before, it's terrible that you have this franchise that, or shall I say, this corporation that has all these amazing franchises from when we were kids, from Super Nintendo to NES to Genesis, all the way up. And even recently, I recently just read that Street Fighter V was a flop. I literally just read that today. Street Fighter V was a flop. That's terrible. That's terrible, and it's disappointing, man. It really is. I think that Capcom needs to revive the Marvel versus Street Fighter versus Marvel versus Capcom franchise. That is something they need to revive. I think they had a great success with Marvel versus Capcom. 3 was okay. 2 was my favorite. I did like 3. I felt it was too floaty, too much float. But it was a good franchise, man. It really was. And they need to figure out a way to get that franchise back out there. If they're going to just keep using the franchises they have over and over again, they could easily revive what's his name? Captain Commando. That could be a franchise that they bring back. Like, you have all these dormant franchises, but you're not talking about them. You're not bringing them, and it's just crazy, and it's disappointing, and it's sad to see. They really have disappointed, I think, a lot of people, and that's why everybody wants somebody to buy them. I don't know how many Xbox fans had clamored for them to buy Capcom. Microsoft, buy Capcom. Microsoft's not buying Capcom. Like, I don't think people understand. Like, I don't think people understand what happens when you take over a company. People just think about games. Do they understand that you have to bring on an entire staff of people that you have to put on payroll? There are IPs that now you have to purchase the rights to. You know how many IPs Capcom has that are just dormant old franchises? Like, bro, they're not doing that. Microsoft, are you insane? If I was Microsoft, you buy 1 or 2 IPs and you move on. Same thing with Sega. You buy 1 or 2 IPs and you move on. These are companies that have been around for decades. They have built libraries that are just so high. It'll be a pain in the butt to try to purchase them and then go through everything. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work you got to do, man. That's a lot of work that you got to do. I just don't think that's something that they will do or something they will pull off. But you know, Capcom has a plan, man. We'll see what happens at E3. I'm pretty sure they'll announce these games. I'm looking forward to it. And I really can't wait to see what they show off at E3 2016. So there's been some crazy big news coming out at recently from the Hawken game that's on PC. Now, for you guys out there who don't know what Hawken is, if you love MechAssault and you love mech games, this will be the game for you. Now, this this rumor has got it buzzing on TICGN.com. So here's the rumor. The Taiwan Game Software Rating Regulation Board has rated the PC free-to-play game Hawken for the Xbox One. So it's already has an ESRB rating for Xbox One, which is absolutely great for the people out there who want Hawken. You know, it's pretty much a free-to-play mech game. It's kind of more Mech Warrior than Mech Assault. You know, you get into, if you guys remember Mech Warrior, for those of you who don't remember Mech Warrior was a game where you would get a mech and you would build it and design it how you want. You know, it was like you could put lasers on it, rockets on it. You know, you can make it run fast. You can make light armor, heavy armor. It was such a detailed game back in the day. Hawken kind of fits that same mold, where it's a lot of detail and building the mech the way you want it, and putting on the equipment that you want, and purchasing things, and just building the most badass mech you can build. And you just go out there into an arena and you just get into these mech fights. And there's so many fans out there clamoring for mechs on the Xbox One. It's a franchise that Microsoft does not tap into. You look at the success of Titanfall, and you would think that Microsoft would somehow revive the MechAssault franchise. People are clamoring for the MechAssault franchise. You know, it's like, why not bring that back? There are certain franchises you will make instant money on, but I don't know if they're bringing them back. I don't. You know, one thing Phil had told me, as well as much of the fan base back in the day, was that they just were not looking into, bringing on or looking into reviving the MechAssault franchise. Why? That is the #1 game everyone asks for. I've seen more people ask for MechAssault than any other game. More than Conquer, more than Banjo, more than Crimson Skies, more than damn near any game you could think of on the original Xbox. Everybody asks for MechAssault. And that's the one franchise they're not doing anything with. Listen, I said this before. Sometimes you believe Phil, sometimes you don't. I'm not saying he's a liar, but he's telling you one thing and doing something else. There could be a strong possibility that they may eventually revive the MechAssault franchises. I don't know if that will be true. I'm just saying that there's a strong possibility that they can revive the franchise. But if they don't, and Hawken really does well, if Hawken really sells well, actually won't sell as free to play, but of course you have microtransactions. You think about games like Neverwinter, you think about games like Warframe. Xbox gamers love those free to play games. To be honest with you, they really do. They clamor for them. I remember games like Neverwinter literally exploding with like 2 million people on that MMO in like, I don't even know, probably like a month. That was an insane amount of people in a month. You know, you look at another game, even though it wasn't free to play, But you know, you look at another game like Ark, that game exploded. Warframe, that game exploded. There were just so many people on these free-to-play games. Happy Wars, that game exploded on 360, and to this day, I think it still does well on the Xbox One. There's a lot of franchises that Microsoft have been getting that have been free to play, and they've been doing really, really well on the Xbox One. You combine a free-to-play game with mechs, that game will explode. That is a franchise, in my opinion. Microsoft should just buy them outright. I would just, and this is my God's truth, I would just buy that studio. If you're gonna buy something, that first of all, that's a small studio. That's not gonna cost you an arm and a leg. I would buy that studio, I would pump out Hawken and get their asses working on Mech Assault. Because a realistic Mech Assault is what people want. That is the truth. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of reviving a franchise and then just, you know, everything doesn't have to be like Killer Instinct. That's the thing I'm concerned about. Like, you know, all these old school 360 games coming back. All these old school 360 games coming back. I'm more concerned with, you know, them not making everything like Killer Instinct, because that was the route they were going with Phantom Dust. Phantom Dust was supposed to fall into that same route, you know, and it's pretty crazy because I just don't understand that, you know, you have all these dormant franchises, you need to revive them. You really do. I know you can't do that without studios. I don't know how hard it is. Like, we as gamers, we don't know the financials behind what's happening with Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. And I'm inclined to believe the same thing for Sony, because Sony has been so reliant on third parties as well. People always say they have they have games. They have so many games. And that's true, they do, but most of them are indie titles. It's true. You know, and some of the bigger franchises out there, you know, I think people don't understand what a AAA title is. You know, there's certain aspects, you know, behind AAA titles, besides finances, besides the rating, besides its, you know, besides what it does as a franchise in itself and how much money goes into the budget. People don't get that. Just because a franchise is big doesn't mean it's a AAA game. Ori and the Blind Forest, for all intents and purposes, is an amazing game. Ori and the Blind Forest is not a AAA title. Little Big Planet is not a AAA title. It's not. I don't know why people don't get that, but it's not. Those aren't AAA franchises. But they fall into a category and they do extremely well for what they do. Those are AA franchises. You know, actually, not Little Big Planet, Ori and the Blind Forest is obviously an indie franchise, so it really doesn't fall into a crazy rating, but it's more like an A. But it's a successful title. That's something that you don't have you put little investment in, and you get large returns. State of Decay is like a AA title. You put a little bit of investment in, but you get large returns. That's just really what it is. But it's just crazy because Mech Assault is something that I would not want him to put into the same category. Killer Instinct was not a AAA title. That's what people don't understand. Killer Instinct is trying to develop and probably will eventually be a AAA title because that franchise has taken off. At some point, you have to continuously invest into it. And the bigger it gets, the more money you invest, and then it winds up becoming this major AAA franchise, which is a staple within the Xbox library. And it's becoming that. This thing has blown up in Japan. A lot of people don't understand what's happening in Japan with Killer Instinct, but we're really starting to pick up in Japan. You can Google it. Like, it's really picking up. People are loving this game. And I'm happy for Microsoft that they have an exclusive fighting franchise that people really clamor to and really like. It's unfortunate for Street Fighter that it's kind of flopped and, you know, it hasn't met expectations. But I don't blame Sony for that. I don't. You know, Sony went out, they invested the money in getting an IP. I thought it was smart strategy. People don't understand what Sony was trying to do in that regard. Sony did two things in a way that outsmarted Microsoft. And here's the two things they did. They captured the #1 fighting franchise and got the marketing rights for it and exclusivity. And they captured the #1 first-person shooter franchise and got the marketing for it as well as the DLC for it. Now you're saying to yourself, who cares? That's not a big deal. But what that does is that puts a PlayStation in every single Call of Duty tournament, and that puts a controller in the hands at Evo. And we all know Street Fighter is the #1 fighting game at Evo. That's what people go for. People, don't get me wrong, you have Killer Instinct, you got Mortal Kombat, you got Blaze Blue, you got all those other games there. Absolutely. But Street Fighter is that franchise. That is the franchise where people go for Evo. You know, it's like you could have Killer Instinct as the second undercard, and Mortal Kombat could be the first, you know, the undercard underneath that. But the championship match is Street Fighter. And Sony secured both of those. And they took them from Xbox. Because back in the day, Xbox was actually the leader in both Evo and in both Call of Duty. You know? And when you constantly see people using Xboxes at these events, you get an Xbox. I mean, it was smart. It was very smart on their end how they pulled that off. But I'm completely off subject. I just think that Microsoft really needs to get back to looking at the franchises they own, really starting to invest money in them, and pump these games out. They really do. Now, I've been told that they have new IPs to show at E3, and they have unannounced games to show at E3, not just the same stuff. I'm pretty sure we'll see scale-bound gameplay again. We'll see Recore. We'll see Crackdown in motion. They'll probably give us Halo Wars. And I can guarantee you for a good 30 minutes of the show, we'll be pretty bored. That's what I believe. For a good 30 minutes of the show, we'll be pretty bored because it's just going to be a lot of stuff that we already know. And then they'll come in and Phil will say something like, and this is what I think. Phil will come in and he'll say something like, you know, and all these games are exclusive to, these are all new IPs, unannounced titles coming to Xbox One and Windows 10, and they'll show all these new IPs and games, and there'll be like 2 or 3 of them. You know, maybe 4 if we're lucky. But there'll be about 2 or 3 of them they'll show off. And then they'll probably go into talking about, you know, features and a few other things like that. You know, I'm really hoping that it's really, really, really popping at E3 for Microsoft. My understanding is that they may have a different conference for showing off hardware. You know, that is the rumor. Again, if they show it at E3, I think that would take too much time away from what they want to show overall as a presentation. But again, I said that Microsoft has to be able to show something at E3. They cannot go into E3 without showing any hardware. I don't care when they do it. I don't care how they do it. They can do it the week before E3. They can do it the week after E3, as long as it's done during E3 week, so they're not blown away by the announcement of whatever place it's going to show with the Neo. And if they don't show any hardware at E3, I will be absolutely disappointed. And I think that, you know, Microsoft will be in a position where they don't want to be. They don't want to be in that position. They just don't. So, you know, in the end, I think Hawken is a great franchise to pick up. A lot of fans are clamoring for it, and a lot of fans are excited for it. I'm excited for it, and I can see it really, really, really being successful for them. So keep an eye out for Hawken when that comes out. So, you know, our guys over at TICGN did some amazing research recently. And one of the things that the team wanted to do was that they wanted to discover who actually was putting more games on the Xbox One when it came to backwards compatibility, you know, in comparison to other studios. And shout out to my man, Jason McKendricks, who was also the editor over there at TICGN. You know, he did a great job finding some of this stuff out. I think he initially found it from a guy on Reddit who did the research. Initially, he was able to get that and bring it to the site. Let me find the article real quick so I can read it to you. Here we go. Okay, so Microsoft has been pumping out backwards compatible games. You know, we all love them, we all adore them, we're all excited for it and stuff like that. Some of us own some of these games, so you know, your library just constantly grows and you're definitely into what's happening. But it's ironic because you would think that of all the companies that are pumping out games on the Xbox One, besides Microsoft, of course, that it would be a Western company that pumped out more. No. The lunacy in the ironic thing about this is that the #1 company, and disregard Microsoft for 1 second, The number one company putting games on backwards compatibility is Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco have put more games than any other publisher or studio on BC than anyone else. Currently, Microsoft themselves have put 69, there are 69 games from Microsoft Studios. 69. So basically, the reality of it is that there's not a lot of publishers out there putting games out there on the Xbox One. Like seriously, it's actually, the more you look at it, it's really eye-opening when you break it down. I'm going to read off the list of companies to you guys, and I'm going to tell you how many games they've put on BC. And it's surprising. You're like, I sat up here and I'm like, damn, BC really isn't as successful as we all think it is. When Microsoft has put 69 of their own games on there. It just goes to show you who's participating and who doesn't. So 2K Games has put one game on BC. One game. 345 Games put 3. Axis Games put 1. Atari has put 4. Bandai Namco has put 10 games into BC. Bethesda has put 5. Capcom 2. CD Projekt Red 1. Codemasters 4. D3 Publishers 1. Deep Silver 3. Disney Interactive Studios have put 8. Electronic Arts have put 8. So EA's put 8 and Disney has put 8. Crazy. Konami has put 2. Mages 1. Majesco Entertainment has put 3. Marvelous AQL 1. Microsoft Studios, again, as I said before, 69. Midnight City 2. Now, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I do apologize. It's not Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco put 10. This goes to show you the relationship that Microsoft had with this Japanese studio. It is disappointing that, I'll be honest with you, I really wish that they would just combine. I really do. Sega has put 20 games on the Xbox One via BC. I thought it was Bandai Namco. I don't know how I missed that. 20 games on BC. That's far above any other studio. Any other studio that's on this list. 20 games. SNK have put 5. Square Enix have put 5. System 3 Software have put 1. THQ 1. Ubisoft 12. Shout out to Ubisoft. Ubisoft doing their thing. Valve has only put 1. And Warner Brothers Interactive have put 1. So the majority of your games have come from Sega, Bandai Namco, and Microsoft. And that's where BC is at, man. That's where BC is at. And that's very shocking because, you know, it's just a funny situation. You look at what Microsoft has been doing, trying to get these games out to the fans and to the, everybody that wants BC's titles. Everybody's like, I didn't get this game yet. And I didn't get this game yet. The studios aren't doing it. You can't blame Microsoft for it. And that's the thing that kills me. Everyone wants to blame Microsoft for not getting, Black Ops and, Call of Duty. Look at what Call of Duty has done. Look at what Activision has done. They've taken Modern Warfare 4. Now, my understanding is Modern Warfare 4 and Modern Warfare 2, remastered both of them and put them behind an $80 paywall with Infinite Warfare that no one wants. No one wants. Most people are upset because Infinite Warfare doesn't even look as impressive as Battlefield 1 after seeing it. And I get Battlefield 1 was more CGI and pre-rendered stuff, but we all know how that game's going to turn out. We know DICE is no slouch, okay? They're no slouch when it comes to graphics, and they're no slouch when it comes to gameplay. So we know that that game is going to produce some stunning visuals, and the gameplay is going to be fun. And we know what COD has put out, and COD is a great franchise in its own right. It gets repetitive, and a lot of people get tired of it. But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Call of Duty has kept going to the future. You got people flying in space now, and they're fighting in spacesuits. It's gotten to the point that people are just tired of the future. First, they were tired of the old wars. Now they're tired of the future, and now Battlefield has capitalized going on in your war, and people want Modern Warfare remastered. It was like the #1 game on the BC checklist, and now they put it behind an $80 paywall. It's insane. It's insane. So you can't blame Microsoft for these things, man. You just can't. You can't blame Microsoft for them not being able to get some of the games that you want on there. You can't blame them. Again, this is all up to the publisher. If publishers want to make money off of their old games, they can. There's a 360 store up there right now. They can put it up in there for $5. $10, they can make $9 off an old game that people didn't buy digitally. And if you have that game, it should be available in your library to download. That's the greatest thing about BC, is that it's free. And if you don't have the game, you can buy it at a really, really cheap price. I think the reason why they took down Red Dead Redemption is because Red Dead is going to be marketed by Microsoft. I will not be surprised if Microsoft got the marketing rights for Red Dead Redemption. I think you will see Red Dead Redemption revealed at the Microsoft conference, and people are going to go crazy for it. I really believe that. People are going to go crazy for it. So it's exciting to know that I think Microsoft has some stuff in their sleeve come to third party. I doubt it would be exclusive or any type of DLC exclusivity. I don't know if Microsoft has the marketing rights for Battlefield. We know that they have the marketing with EA for EA Access or first on Microsoft, and that's great. That's great for them. So that's a good way to do it. But I just don't think that there's enough studios out there really stepping their game up. It's really eye-opening when you look at who's been producing what when it comes to those franchises. So, man, that's it for the show this week. I wanted to keep it short and simple. I don't want to keep talking for like a whole hour and a half. I'm gonna start trying to get these shows knocked down to 45 minutes so I can have some time for some Q&A if people want to ask questions and things like that. It's a crazy situation Microsoft is in. I think that E3 is going to be big for them. I also think this is a make or break E3 for Microsoft. I don't think people understand how big this E3 is for Microsoft. And I really hope Microsoft understands this E3 is really big for them, because we're going into now the Phil Spencer era. Truly, it's been 3 years. The Don Matrix old era has finally ended. I think the last game we'll get from Don Matrix era, the $1 billion that was spent was probably Scalebound, because again, that game has been in talks in development since around 2010, 2011. So that franchise is something that people are excited about, including myself. I know I am excited about it and everything like that. But I just think at the end of the day, Microsoft really has to look at E3, what they're going to present. It needs to be amazing. Seriously, they need to wow people. They really do. They really do. They need to show some serious new IPs. They need to be able to show that they are committed to producing games that people want to play, because a lot of their franchises this generation have been very good, but nothing has been a classic. The closest thing I can say that they produced that has been a classic, in my opinion, is Forza Horizon 2 and Ori and the Blind Forest. Those are the two franchises I think this generation of all generations have been the closest to becoming classics. To be honest with you, I actually put Forza Horizon 2 as a classic racer. So they need to produce some great stuff. They need to hit the nostalgia factor. They need to wow somebody with an amazing third-party exclusive, and they need to pump out some new IPs, and they need to bring back some franchises, like I said, to get that nostalgia factor back and stuff like that. If they're able to pull that off and then turn around and talk about they have a new console coming out next year in 2017, I think they have the potential to really bring a lot of their fan base back. That console that they pump out has to be the most powerful console on the market. It has to be. And you're saying to yourself right now, why? Why does it have to be the most powerful on the market? Because Microsoft does not get enough respect worldwide. They don't. Let's face it. This is the reality that Microsoft has built. This is the reality that, all the repercussions and actions that they have created. This is the culmination of them, of it coming back to them. Sony is a worldwide light company. In order for Microsoft to get the respect that they had back with 360, they need to be the #1 console for third parties. Every game needs to run through Microsoft first. It has to. It needs to run through Xbox. It needs to run through the UWP, which is PC, port to Xbox, port to PlayStation, both PS4 and PS4 Neo. Because at that point, you're in control. And you're forcing people to make games for your franchise. That's just the reality of it, especially Japanese companies. Look at what 360 did. Just look at what 360 did. And it tells you everything. It really does. So, yes, Buffalo Bill asks, so last 3 years was Matrix work? Yes, it was. I don't know why he gets credited, but the last 3 years, yes. At least when it comes to the games that's been releasing, yes, it was. So let's get to the questions, man, because clearly I have some people in here who want to ask me questions. I want to thank everybody for stopping out. We will be back next week with another Super Podshots. I try to get in early. I'm having technical issues with the camera. I don't know why I'm not being able to be used. Why it's not being used. It's saying that it can't be detected through Google. I've did all types of things with plugins, and that's what kind of held me up today while I'm behind the show. So we'll be back. Hopefully the camera will be working. I will find some type of way to get it working and figure these things out. So I want to thank everybody for stopping in. I'm your boy, KORSKLL, the last on the planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace. All right, guys, just wanted to save that audio for the MP3 version. If you guys listen to me on MP3, I do apologize. I am so behind. I have about 4 episodes to upload to iTunes and things like that. I've been behind with the merge and getting the teams together in an order and stuff like that. And it's a very exciting time for me, but at the same time, it's put a lot of things that I've been normally producing on the back burner. So I do apologize about that. If you guys listen to us via mobile, but don't worry about that. I am going to get all of that content up there this week before E3 because we're trying to do it big at E3. We got media badges. I got my media badge recently, so I'm excited, and I don't have to worry about trying to find people on the floor anymore. I can finally set up interviews and do one-on-one interviews with people. That was crazy because last year we went to E3 and it was a line of media. And you can walk in and talk to people and set up like these time slots for interviews with people one-on-one, and you didn't have to chase them around, the E3 showroom floor and try to interview them. And we couldn't do it because we didn't have media badges. We weren't considered media. We were just Microsoft's guests, which was great. It was great to be recognized by Xbox. I was super excited last year, but but this year to go on our own merit, on our own work, is something I'm very proud of, and I'm very grateful and thankful because of you guys and all the people out there that's been out here supporting us and getting us to this point. So thank you, really, really appreciate it, and we'll never, ever, ever turn my back on the Xbox community. Thank you. So with that being said, let's get to the first question that I got from Buffalo Bill. So yes, Buff, this is what happened. Microsoft, they had a plan when they first came out. Don Matrick, as the head of Xbox, had invested $1 billion into bringing games to the Xbox One because they knew that they had messed up with the original with the Xbox 360 the last couple of years, because that was a big thing everybody was complaining about. They had Kinect. He's pumping out all these Kinect games that the hardcore fans base didn't want. He was trying to capture that spark that the Wii U had. But if you look at what the Wii U had, that spark was captured in the beginning of the life cycle of the Wii U. At the end of the life cycle, the people recognize the Wii. Not that I keep saying the Wii U. I do apologize to the Wii U. Wii U is a much better console than the Wii. So let me rephrase that. A lot of people looked at the Wii and bought it for their grandparents, which was crazy. It was bought by group homes. It was bought by schools. It was such a easy level entry way to play games that it was picked up by everyone. Microsoft and Sony recognized that and wanted to jump into that casual market. It failed for both. Now, it didn't fail for 360 because, not initially, because they sold 25 million units of the Kinect. Like that was the most, that is, to this day, that is the most successful peripheral ever sold. Now I'm pretty sure PSVR will probably surpass it, but currently 25 million Kinects have been sold on a 360. It broke like records. It was crazy. But they invested in this in this thing, and all the games flopped except for the games coming out of Rare and the games coming from Harmonix, which was like Dance Dance Central and a few other titles. There just wasn't a lot of games that came out where the Kinect was useful. Hardcore gamers, it did not appeal to them. Same thing with the Move. It didn't appeal to them. And then as the Wii got older, it just got filled with shovelware. It couldn't keep up with the power demands of the PS3 and the 360, and it got left in the dust with third-party support. So it was disappointing. It was disappointing that that happened. But you know, Don felt that he had to invest, all this money into the Xbox. So they invested $1 billion into games. That $1 billion is everything that we've played so far the last 3 years. All of the third-party exclusives, from Tomb Raider to Dead Rising and Rise, from Scalebound to Recore to Crackdown. All of that money went into that. That's what it went into. Phil Spencer's is now going into 2017. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. A lot of the franchises that these guys that Phil Spencer is now head of will be going into 2017, 2018. This is why I think it's important Microsoft drops another Xbox, and it's Xbox P3. That's what it is. It's Phil's Xbox. This is Phil's era. It's time for Phil to take over and move on from this whole Don Matrix fiasco thing. The Xbox One is Don Matrix and Ballmer's baby. Now you need a new Xbox that is Phil Spencer's and Natala's baby. And I think this new Xbox will be a beast of a machine. I think that they don't want to be in a position where they're not the most powerful console on the market or close to being the most powerful console on the market. I think third-party support and being a third-party leader when it comes to game development is important for them. And we'll see what Phil does in his direction when it comes to games. You know, Phil is a big PC gamer. A lot of people don't realize that. But if you start to look at all the PC games coming to Xbox One, there's been a ton of PC games coming to Xbox One. A lot of MMOs are coming. You look at a lot of these free-to-play games, these services games and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff just has PC written all over it. And I think if Microsoft is smart, they will figure out a way to integrate both Windows 10 titles or Windows 10 games and Xbox exclusives into one console. So if you're not able to get the game on Xbox or whatever the new Xbox is, you're able to get the game via PC. The smartest thing they could do. Smartest thing they could do. You know, everything is Windows 10. I think currently, I don't know exactly how many people, but there's like 200-something million people out there with Windows 10 now. And it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy that this many people have Windows 10, and that thing is going to constantly and just keep growing. It's going to constantly and just keep growing. And at some point, developers will have no choice but to work with Windows 10 because DX12 is, a standard. It is a standard. I know a lot of people talk about when you have Vulkan and you have Mantle and all things like that. Listen, neither one of those, as great as Vulkan is, it's not a standard. It's not. You have some studios that use it. Sony has its own. I know a lot of people are like, why doesn't Sony work with Vulkan and get Vulkan for their API? Sony has they have their own API, so they're not going to use Vulkan. And Vulkan is great. It's open source, but DX12 is a standard, man. It is what it is, and developers will continue to use DX12. And as Windows 10 gets bigger and bigger, developers will go ahead and hop on Windows 10. And if Microsoft is able to control third parties, there's a lot of games that will come out for DX12 through Windows 10 and will be easily ported to the Xbox One. And recently, there's been some great news coming out for Windows 10. Windows 10 had recently got 2 major updates. Let me report on that real quick. Go on over to ticgn.com. I'll tell you right now, I'm plugging my website like every episode because we've been getting some great feedback. But let me go to the PC section. I just want to talk about some of the things that recently came out for the UWP. So here's some of the things that came out. They have now unlocked frame rates for the Universal Windows app, as well as G-Sync, I think, and Async. I want to say that. I think that's what it is. I'm not a PC guy, but I believe that's what was recently done. So they're making updates to Windows 10. They're making updates. A lot of things that people are demanding, they are making those updates to Windows 10. And I think a lot of people will be happy with what's happening with Windows 10 and PC. I think, the Windows 10 platform has been disastrous for Microsoft when it comes to their games going to the Xbox. So with those games going to the Xbox, and not really being what people truly want or what people truly expected, yeah. There you go, VSync, exactly. VSync and G-Sync, I think it is. They allow you now to enable and disable them. So that's a big step for them, as well as unlock the frame rates. That's a big step for them. So, Microsoft, they're making the moves that they have to make, man. They do. They really do. And I really think that, we'll see what happens with that in the future and stuff. But again, like I said, if they're able to get that third-party support, you run your games through DX12 on PC, you port them to the Xbox. Hopefully, whatever Xbox they come out with is very powerful. And then you turn around and you port that to everybody else. Microsoft is in control. They have to be in control. I said this before. The reason why they have to be in control, and I hate to sound like a bully, but they have to be because they don't garner enough respect. And I think in order to do that, they have to control third party, make sure that system is very powerful and that everything runs through it. And they can figure out a way to fix their image along the way. Phil Spencer has been doing a great job with that with the Xbox One. He has to now do that with whatever new console they come out with and continue to push the boundaries of their console. Let's see. Is there any other questions out there before before I head out of here? Let's see. Big Bang Kamehameha asks me to talk about the Uncharted scores. I mean, what is there to say about Uncharted, man? I don't have a PS4, so like I said before, I'm not the type of person to comment on something that I haven't played. But I think that if Uncharted got a 9.5 or a 9.6 overall and everybody's giving it 10s, maybe it deserved it. Maybe it does. Maybe it has. What I can say, based on what I've seen, and I am no hater, a lot of people say it's the best looking game on any console. I think that Uncharted is probably the most beautiful artistic game that I have seen on any platform. I still think The Order 1886 looks better. I think The Order 1886 right now is probably the best looking game I have seen this entire generation on any platform. That is just the truth. It really is the truth. Rise looks incredible as well. I still think Rise looks incredible. I would definitely say Uncharted, and I have to give respect to Quantum Break. As much as people try to downgrade Quantum Break on the visual department, when you play that game, it is a beauty. You can take a screenshot of Quantum Break, and it just looks stunning. It really is. Uncharted is a beautiful game, and I think it's definitely in the top 3 best-looking games this generation. But I will admit, a lot of the top 3 games that look really amazing do come out of the Sony camp, and that's just a detriment to what they've done with their console. There's no disrespect to the Xbox, and it's not to say the Xbox doesn't have power, not at all, because they've shown some amazing games. When you look at Forza Horizon 2 and what they've done with that open world, it may not be realistic, but you look at the open world artistically, what they've done with the game, is a beautiful game. The lighting is beautiful, the cars are beautiful, the world, the environment is so lively. It's a beautiful game. And then of course you look at Rise, and then you look at Forza as well, and then you look at games like Quantum Break. So yeah, they have their own games, and I think their games are absolutely beautiful and definitely in the top 10. But you know, power means a lot, and Sony's pumped out some beautiful games. Do all their games play well? Probably not. I don't know if the order would be up there with the best games this generation, but graphically, yeah, it's impressive. Uncharted is definitely impressive. Uncharted's pedigree in itself has its own lore, like it has its own legendary legacy. Even though I think Uncharted 2 was absolutely amazing, I thought Uncharted 1 was okay, and I thought 3 wasn't that great, but 4 finishes it up. So I think that as a franchise, Uncharted is definitely one of the best franchises of all time. That's without question. I definitely put it up there. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think Xbox Elite would be a good name for the newer version of the Xbox. But it needs to have Phil needs to definitely put his name on it, man. You know, Xbox P3. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But he needs to definitely make sure that people understand this is a box built with his intentions to be the best. Because I know a lot of people, you know, look at Phil and they think he's soft and he doesn't, you know, he's not as aggressive. But if you look at what he did early on and how he said he wanted to compete, he's not soft. It's just you just got to know when to pick your battles. You got to know when to talk and when not to talk. You know what I'm saying? If you get before you get to a fight, you can pop all the crap in the world. But if you get your ass whooped, you're gonna settle down for a bit. You recoup and you come back and you get ready for the next fight. But you don't stop popping crap. If a boxer loses one match and he goes to another one, he doesn't stop talking crap. You're still a fighter. You still have to fight. So I think, you know, this next generation may be different. We'll see what happens. Buffalo Bill asks, so how much budget does Phil have to work with? I don't know, be honest with you. They had $1 billion to work with. So far, it's been successful for them, clearly, because they're outpacing the Xbox 360. The games have not sold as well as the 360, but they've done more in the first 3 years of the Xbox One generation when it comes to diversity than they've done in the last 3 years of the Xbox 360. And in my opinion, that's big. That's just big. So, you know, some people are buying the game, some people aren't. Some people are renting the game. Some people have the console for exclusive only, and it may be a game that they spent the money on instead of that exclusive. Clearly, it's not something that Microsoft wants, so they've had to go into the Windows 10 thing, and that's been a plus for them because their sales and their retail has increased because of going into Windows 10 and selling those games to PC gamers behind the Windows 10 paywall. So it's been a smart thing for them to do that. Hopefully they continue to do that, and we'll see what happens with them in the future. Let's see. Let's see. DNA Donut asks, do you think Dead or Alive Extreme 3 will come to Xbox One? I want to import the game but don't have a PS4. I don't know, man. I said this before. I don't know if the Japanese developer respects the console. I don't think they do. And because of that, they do what they want to do. And that's why I said Microsoft doesn't have the respect of the 360 was a bully. Keep it real. The 360 was a bully. That's what that console was. It was a bully of a console. They came into the market first. They pumped out some great looking games, and they had such an easy way to produce games for their consoles that third-party titles just worked way better. I won't say way better, but much better than it did on PS3. And at that point in time, people were buying the games in Japan. You know, people were buying the consoles in Japan, and their franchise was selling like cakes. It was selling like candy, and that made people who may not have want to put their games on the console have no choice but to put their games on the console because the sheer number of people on there demanded it. But this generation, they don't have that respect. Sony has that respect. And if that's your home console, that's your home-based console, and as prideful as the Japanese people are, I'm not saying all of them, I'm not saying all of them, but it just goes to show you how much respect Microsoft has earned within the Japanese developer community. When you have talk of Tekken 7 going, suddenly going from coming to both platforms to possibly being exclusive on PlayStation 4, it says a lot. It really does. That's why I have so much respect for Square Enix. I really do. You look at what Square did. I think Sony looked at them as betrayers. That's why they sold their stock. Once they dropped Final Fantasy 13 on Xbox 360, everything has been almost on Xbox One. Kingdom Hearts is coming to Xbox One. But then you look back, there's a lot of games that's not coming to Xbox One, like Kingdom Hearts 1, 2.5 or whatever it is with the remastered titles. You look at Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2, which is disappointing because I'm a huge Final Fantasy X fan. I know a lot of people didn't like Titus. I love Titus. I love that story. The dynamic between him and his father was absolutely amazing. Battling Sin at the end of the game was amazing. The love dynamic between him and Yuna was amazing. I love Final Fantasy X. I didn't play Final Fantasy X-2, and I hate to sound like a misogynist because it really is, but I just felt like I was playing dress up. I couldn't do it. You have 3 female characters, and I'm always changing their clothes. Why? I don't play with dolls. I'm a grown man. I'm not doing it. So I didn't pick it up. I hate to sound that way when I didn't play X2. I just wasn't doing it. It was a bit too much for me at that point. But yeah, man, I don't think they earned that respect. And I think in order for them to do that, they need to pump out. This next console needs to be a beast. I'll tell you right now, if the next console comes out and it's like, if it really is 10 teraflops, I'm telling you, son, everybody got a problem. You will never hear any excuses about who has the best graphics ever. It may even force Sony to come out with a new console at that point because the Neo is not going to cut it if the Neo is what we think it is based on the rumored specs. So it says a lot. It really does. Am I Big Bang Kamei asks, am I ever going to Gamescom? Bruh, Gamescom is in Germany. I don't think you understand how much a plane ticket to Germany is, let alone stay in Germany. I don't know, man. I would love to go. Not on my dime, but I would love to go. If TICGN and the tech brand blows up to the point that the company is able to send me to Germany, then yes, hell yeah, I would go. Absolutely, I would go to Gamescom. But me come out of my pocket to do it, nah. First place I would like to go is Japan. I would love to go to Japan first, though. Japan first before I go to Germany. Absolutely. Let's see. Yep, so we're going to finish up with the whole 10 teraflops thing. I mean, listen, as I said before, we're not engineers. I know it sounds unrealistic. It really does. And we talk about how, we talk about the heat dissipation. We talk about how they're going to cool the system and the price, like if everything, if they're able to, let's just say, for example, they're able to cool 10 teraflops, right? They're able to get everything into a box. What type of hit do they take to sell this Xbox? What type of hit do they take? And just be realistic. I think that they could pull off. I don't think they could pull off 10. Being realistic, I think they can pull off 8, maybe 6. Because somebody brought up something to me recently about the R9 Nano, which has, which will, with these new chips coming out, will reduce in price, and that can handle about 8 teraflops. And let's just say they come up with a cooling system that's able to handle that. If they could pull off 8 teraflops, that console has to be $500. You cannot go above $500. In any console they drop, I don't give a damn if it's got 50 flops in it. it can't go above $500. People will not spend $600 on a console. This is not PlayStation 3. If you don't go by what happened to PS3, no one's spending $600. $500 is the limit. It really is. They did well with selling the original Xbox at $500. The Xbox cannot come with a camera. It cannot come bundled with a Kinect. It needs to be a console by itself. All the peripherals have to be backwards compatible. The original Xbox One controller needs to work on it. The Kinect needs to work on it. You need to be able to eliminate, like seriously, you need to be able to eliminate as much as you can to sell this box. You have to. You know what I'm saying? You need to be able to eliminate anything extra to sell a box that's supposed to be this powerful. But at the end of the day, it just really comes down to Microsoft selling their console. I think 500 is solid. 449 is cool, but I think 500 is solid. If you present a console that literally can still last 10 years, let's think about this for 1 second. Let's think about this for 1 second. The future of Xbox and PlayStation is mid-cycle upgrades. Mid-cycle upgrades. This is the future, right? So let's just get the idea. Since we're on the subject, this is about to get good because everybody's joining all late. I'm trying to get off of here. Let's just say, for example, right? They come out with a new console. This new console is now the console that we all think it is. Let's say Microsoft comes out with a console. It's got 6 teraflops. It's got one of the latest chips out there. It's got a brand new CPU. The controller's backwards compatible. It works with it. The Kinect you can plug right into the back port. It's got 4K streaming. Let's just say for a miracle, it's got 4K gaming. You can up-res a game to 4K, or you can play native at 4K. Let's just say all this stuff happens, right? In 4 years, they come out with a new Xbox. In 4 years after dropping that box, let's say 4 to 5 years, they come out with another one. Now that box is doing 16 teraflops or 20 teraflops. Think about that. This is what I'm talking about. Think about this for 1 second. You know what I'm saying? These mid-gen upgrades to this hardware that's becoming more and more powerful is crazy. I don't even know how they're able to sustain that. Is technology moving to the point to where you can constantly keep doing this every 4 to 5 years? Phones, they're talking about phones and tablets will surpass consoles in the next 3 years when it comes to graphic fidelity. And that's at half the price. Most tablets cost about, I won't say half the price. I won't say that. Let me take that back, because most tablets cost anywhere from 3 to 4, maybe $500. If you get like an iPad or something like that, they usually run around $399 or $400. You get like a Galaxy, a Nexus or something like that. But I'm just saying, of course, yeah. I mean, of course, it sounds like a pipe dream. Everything's a pipe dream, but that's a rumor. I didn't make it. I didn't make the pipe dream. I'm just talking based on the rumor. You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking based on the rumor. So my thing is that you think about what's happening overall. If they come out with these mid-gen consoles and these mid-gen upgrades and everything is backwards compatible and forward compatible, these newer consoles that come out every 4 or 5 years will just keep getting more powerful, and probably keep surpassing the technology that's trying to catch up to them. That's the only thing that I see happening. But are you willing to spend $500 every 5 years? That's $100 per year. Most libraries can't even be built. It took us forever to get the library we have in almost 3 years. Could you imagine trying to get a library in 5 years? How big would the library be in 5 years? Now, I think what makes it smart is if you do that and you do release newer hardware and people are able to pick up the newer hardware that's more powerful come mid-gen, that other console that has X amount of flops in it and X amount of power, and it can last 10 years and still keep up with the newer box. But as it gets to the end of the life cycle, then you start pumping out new games for that new box exclusively. So, it's a crazy situation, man. I don't know exactly what Microsoft will do in the future. Again, this is all speculation. I'm just talking with the fans at this point. I'm not reading anything. I'm just talking with the fans. We're just speculating and trying to, predict things which more than likely won't happen. I think the realistic thing is that Microsoft will come out with a console that has a new CPU, new GPU, and about 6 teraflops of power, and sell it for $500. No Connect included, backwards compatible controllers and a backwards compatible Connect. Everything works on Windows 10. Everything is backwards compatible, and the game scale based on the power. You'll probably get everything in 1080p 60 frames per second, which in my opinion is a significant increase in power in comparison to the Xbox One. It truly is. I know a lot of fans don't want it. They're happy and content with the Xbox One. I love new technology, and I am very interested in new boxes. I have no problems with the Xbox One whatsoever. I think it's a great machine. I think it's the best machine on the market. Its versatility by itself makes it #1 to me. But at the same time, I would not mind still having that same versatility in a box that has power to go with it. And I know a lot of people feel like these consoles have just been tapped and they haven't even reached the climax of these consoles. I keep telling you, these consoles are done. These consoles are done, bro. I'm telling you. To this day, they are done. This is not the 360 era. I get it. You get optimization. Things get better with time. These consoles are done. The Xbox will never be a console that consistently puts out 1080p 60. The PlayStation will never be a console that consistently puts out 1080p 60. It just won't. They're not built for it. The CPUs are extremely weak. They're damn near weaker than the 360s and the PS3s. Definitely weaker than the 360s. Xbox One CPU is weaker than the 360s. So, that's not happening. You can talk about cloud. Cloud is going to increase. I had a crazy argument on Twitter with some people. I don't want to say no names and stuff like that. Why do people, it's frustrating trying to talk with people about console gaming when people keep talking about there's like some update coming into the Xbox that's going to unlock stuff. Stop it. Stop doing that. You're putting all this fake information and false information out there and getting people's hopes and dreams up for what? It's not true. It's not. Stop doing that. Okay? DX12 is going to help the Xbox One to a certain point. Games will get better. They will look better because of DX12. They're not going to be significantly better. Okay, you're not going to get what you get out of PC. Phil's already said that. He came on a show and he said that, yes, it will help improve the things that the Xbox does well, but you're not going to get the graphic fidelity that people think you're going to get. Okay, cloud computing is not something that's going to help improve graphics. That is not what it is. Stop it. Okay, cloud computing is about physics. It's about calculations. Being able to calculate things, not on a box, offload it to a server and have that come back to your box. Okay? The whole point of Crackdown is to remove the calculations from the CPU to the server and send it back in a milliseconds time. That is the whole purpose. But what that does is it frees up resources on the box to do other things. You can take those resources and put it into other things. But graphics is not something that you're going to get coming across the internet. That's not what it is. Now, they could probably use those resources to improve the textures. They could probably use those resources to add more things on screen. There's other things they could use those resources for. But you're not going to get what people have been rumored to be talking about with the Neo and what people have been rumored to talk about with the Xbox. The Xbox One will never be pumping out anything in the spectrum of a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teraflops machine. You people are delusional and you need to stop. And it's sad. It's sad because I want to respect you. And every time you talk on my Twitter, I lose a little bit more respect for you every single day. So if you're listening, you guys need to stop. Seriously. Let it go. Move on. It is. How is the 360 CPU stronger? It is. Go look it up. I remember that a long time ago. There was this crazy talk with the Digital Foundry, and they were talking about how the 360 CPU actually was stronger than the Xbox Ones. Don't ask me why they did that. I have no idea, but it's the truth. It has it was a little bit more powerful. It was like, I don't know how much more powerful, but it was a little bit more powerful. So you know, yeah, man. So it's crazy what Microsoft is trying to do and things like that. But I think people just need to be realistic. Realistic, you know. Again, if they could show up at E3 or they could show up with a conference and wow us all and surprise us, like, yes, we do have this machine, but I just think they just need to be in control. If they're not in control, they fall back into the space of being Xbox One again. They just need to make sure that their console is no slouch. Maybe it's powerful, but it's not easier to develop games for, or you're able to rotate between PlayStation, Neo, and Xbox, whatever it is that's coming out. But you cannot be relegated to being the second tier console. You can't. It's a failure. So, you know, we'll be at a lot of conferences this year, man. I plan to get a lot of news pumped out on both TICGN and try to do podcasts while I'm there. One of the things I'm going to be using is the Facebook Live. So you'll be able to catch me on Facebook Live over on the TICGN webpage on Facebook, as well as our community page on Facebook /groups/Hard Knock Gamers. So definitely sign up there if you want to catch some of the live vids that I'll be doing out in LA. We plan to, we've been invited to a few conferences. Some of the conferences we've been invited to is the Microsoft conference itself. So I'll be live streaming there, trying to chat with people, get some of the people you know and talk to regularly. I'll be doing a Facebook live stream at the PC conference, which is actually right after the Microsoft conference. And then after that, I'm probably going to jet over to FanFest or try to get in there. I don't know which one is first or what time each one is, but I'm definitely going to try to get to FanFest this year. We've been invited to the Bethesda conference, so I'm excited about that. I'll be doing that as well. Ubisoft just hit me off with an email and said that they will get back to me. So hopefully we'll be able to get in the Ubisoft conference. We also will be able to be in the I would say the PC conference. We'll be in E3 itself and everything. So because we are media, what's crazy is that last year when we went, we hung outside the door with Jeff Keighley. But because we're media this year, we get to go in before everybody else. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I am so hyped. I'm so hyped. You get to go in when no one is in there. Like, you don't understand how many people was at E3. You don't get it. Like, you ever been out on a hot summer day and someone dropped a blow pop on the floor and the amount of ants that surrounds a blow pop and they're like an ant hill? It is so many people in that E3 area. It is insane. I remember when the doors opened, I almost got knocked down because everybody was bum rushing Halo Warfare. Everybody ran to the Halo area. No one cared about anything else. Everybody walked to Nintendo, but that Halo area, bro, they bum rushed that area. The security had to tell people to slow down. And I was just walking. It was my first time, and I was like, dude, this was a disaster. But by the time I got into the Microsoft area, the whole thing was filled up already. Everybody was on every single game. Forza was filled up. Tomb Raider line was filled up. You know, Halo was filled up. All the indie games was filled up. It was crazy. It was crazy. So, you know, I'm definitely, this time around, we get in early, so I'm excited. They let you in early to interview developers and get a chance to talk to people and meet people. So I am super excited about that. You know I'm going to interview Phil. You know I'm going to interview Greeny. Definitely going to interview everybody at the Xbox conference. But hey, listen, man, don't hate on me if I'm interviewing Sony and Nintendo. I have a job to do as media, okay? I have obligations at TICGN. And I'm definitely going to be interviewing those people. I might not put it up on the Tick Podcast channel, but I will be putting it up on the website. But I would definitely bring all the Xbox content I can to you guys. I'm really excited about that, and I'm glad that you guys are here to check it out and support. So, and don't forget to check out the lost tapes. We were able to recover those tapes. Basically, what happened was we had a whole bunch of interviews. It got corrupted. We got a driver update. So because we got the driver update, we were able to recover a few of them. And one of the interviews was with a fan. We had more fan stuff, but it didn't work out. And then we had the interview with Dan Greenwald. Check out those two in the video section. And I have one with the developer of Super Hot. I'm going to be putting that up sometime tomorrow. And again, support ticgn.com. We're working on a new way to build a community area for people to sign up and have you guys engaged on there and in your own little community. Trust me, I'm working hard, busting my butt to get that done because I think you guys deserve it. And I love and respect everybody who supports Tick Podcast. And that's always on the channel. So thank you guys a lot. Before I head out, is there any other questions anybody would like to ask me before I head out? I'll give you about 15 seconds to throw something up. What up, Lou? What's good? What's good, man? I'm good. Hey, the merchandise, I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it. We have an artist. There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. You know, I try to be quiet about it. I'm trying to keep things secret so I can surprise people. I love surprising the fans and the community out there. So we're going to be working on merchandise. Merchandise should launch this summer. It's supposed to launch this summer. We got a few ideas. We have an artist we'll be working with and commissioning and trying to get some really cool shirts, mugs, posters, things like that, based around our brand and a few of our ideas out there to people. So working hard on that as well. And again, the app, we are working hard right now. I'm in talks with getting an app on Xbox. I'm going to get an app on every platform, probably except for Nintendo, because Nintendo's a-holes. That's what they do, baby. I don't know why they are, but they are. But we'll have an app on PlayStation as well. If we can get one on there, we'll start out on Xbox and Windows 10. Tick Podcast won't be on the PlayStation app because we're an Xbox-only podcast, but you'll be able to catch some of our other shows on there. And then, you know, we'll have a few shows that are Xbox only and be on the Xbox app on Windows 10. So I'm excited about that as well, man. So I'm working on merchandise. You guys don't worry about it. I'm working on a lot of things for the community. Just make sure you guys are always there to support and help us grow. I really appreciate it. So definitely want to get you guys the merchandise and stuff that you guys want and love. And I want to present it in a professional way. I don't want to just give you guys stuff that says Tick. I don't want to do that. To me, that's lame. I don't want to give you a mug that says Tick or the inner circle with our logo. I don't know why people do that. To me, that's so lazy. I want to give you some real stuff, real gaming gear. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want you guys to have some really cool design stuff that's gaming related. And then, you know, you just got like a little symbol where you don't even see the Tick logo. It looked like a regular shirt, like you got it from like Journeys or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working hard on it. I want to present some good stuff. I don't want to just pump out just Tick merchandise. We'll have some things like that, but I want to pump out real stuff. So we're working hard on it. So you guys keep it locked, man. Appreciate everybody stopping the show. I'm your host, KORXKL, the last on the planet Xbox, and I'm off this planet. Peace.